clothes were up, and they did.
We're smart, and my...
He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I am assigned a new ranking, and this ranking was from a mysterious source who sent me all these tapes to rank. And of course, this mysterious source has wanted me to rank the infamously mixed VHS franchise. I'm not mentioning that the source never revealed its name. It's just a mysterious source I know nothing about. But yeah, I'm going to be ranking all these from the worst to the best. So with that being said, let's get started with what is easily the worst of this whole franchise. And I think you could tell which one that is.
Kicking off the bottom worst in 8th place is going to be VHS Viral.
Yes. The infamous one that almost killed this whole series for 7 years. Where do we start? This film's just badly made from start to finish. It doesn't even feel like a movie that should be called VHS. Most of the stories even do not feel like found footage tape stories whatsoever. They follow the same manuscript and how to make as an anthology recipe. Then, of course, you got VHS Viral. It just didn't have that much appeal as the second movie. This seemed like the scramble of different stories put together, and there's little given to the audience in terms of building up the characters or setting the scene, so it goes straight into the stories and action for better or worse. It doesn't really work all that great, because the characters are pointless and shallow. There's nothing for the audience to relate to. The different segments were a very, very varied quality and interest, but they just landed well below mediocre value. In fact, the entire stew of this movie was dragged down by a pointless narrative and pointless characters. Being found footage was no longer a concern for this movie. It's on a video cassette that was no longer a concern, and it was done by amateurs that are no longer a concern. It seems like all they want to do is get more insanely weird and violent videos put in a movie because they just wanted this VHS to be the next Saw. Dante the Great has interesting concepts and interesting ideas, but it's impossible to understand. And the wraparound Vicious Circles is just laughably stupid, because all it is some guy chasing an empty ice cream truck going down the road. And you got this segment called Parallel Monsters, which is weirdly confusing, boring, and all we have that's memorable about it is some monster with a penis nose or something like that, or a monster vagina. But with that being said, there was one segment that stands out, and that's Bone Storm, the final one of this movie. This is like the first segment we see any actually decent characters in these stories that only pretended to act rude for this idiot director guy. They're actually good people. because they're shown giving their bar to a hobo who's asking for money because they don't have any money. They give him the other bar they didn't bite in. And the two remaining that after they get to Mexico and most of the whole cult monsters kill off half of them, these two are the only remaining ones, which is good for a change. And they actually escape after one decides to save his friend instead of bail like his friend tells him to bail. So that's a good segment, but despite that one good segment, it's just not enough to save the movie, and the rest of the film is just insufferable, especially when we have to deal with that parallel monster segment that just makes no sense at all.
In 7th place is going to be this year's newest spin-off, Kids vs. Aliens.
The second spin-off, and this was released earlier this year, and it's the second film adaptation of the shorts of the series. I honestly was pretty hyped for this movie, and I heard that the Alien segment from VHS 2 was going to get a movie adaptation. Sadly, though, I ended up feeling stupid for thinking that, because all this movie is just nothing but a cheap dollar store Stranger Things attempt with no improvements. Overall, the story just makes no sense. Do authorities not even exist in the town this movie's set in? And the plot is this party full of teens gets literally attacked with some survivors, and yet no one calls the police or sees it or reports it. And the ending is extremely unsatisfying with more questions than answers. And it can usually look around holes if a movie is good enough, but this one has no good plot holes. Acting was And there's decent parts in the first half, and at least the runtime is short. And one last issue I have is the main boy teen. He's just literally written as the son of Satan, who literally is perfectly fine with murdering a bunch of little kids. And, like, what the fuck? Even the worst of kids would literally join us to survive, especially being attacked by aliens and watching some of friends melted. Just a totally unbelievable character, and most of the dialogue is just obnoxious swearing from a bunch of kids, and almost none of them are likable to sympathize with. And the level of gore practical effects is expected for an indie B horror movie like this, but sometimes the effects do work, and neon colors and costumes combined can make you forget about the awful characters like Billy the Dad, the Mom, and the flat story. And seriously, and the ending alone is nothing but just dark, fucked up, and it's just makes you feel like garbage for even watching this whole movie in the first place, because it literally ends with the kids getting captured by the government and practically frozen.
No, don't like that.
And it's where this truly goes insane. Like, why have such a confusing ending for a short, straightforward movie? Like, nothing ever got explained in the end. The end of the short film is not any better, but oh boy. This one is just more fucked up for the viewer. Oh, and they even ditched the camera and the dog thing, which is one of the best elements of the original short. So there's that.
In 6th place is going to be the very first VHS film.
Alright, I'll admit it. I get some people like this film, but honestly, this first movie just isn't my cup of tea. The movie has a good concept and some alright effects and filmmaking here and there with the shorts, but most of the movie is just a boring mess. Oh, and it also, not only that, this movie feels vile and horrendous at times that you also feel like an asshole for even watching something like this. Just like most of the dialogue in this movie is just abysmal, profane, and just gross. And this movie literally starts off and focuses on this group of muggers who vandalize and trash an abandoned house to pieces and smash it. Then also, they even film themselves exposing this woman in the parking lot's boobs, and later even talk about how they want to show women's bums on their film cameras next summer. Before their leader just tells them to shut the fuck up and breaks their TV to pieces, and then they set off to steal their assigned tape, which is pretty much kicking off the actual anthology, and this takes like 7 minutes to finally get to the short. And when they get there, they find an old man's dead body, and then they are so stupid that they watch the shorts in front of the dead guy's body, and all our stories are literally just his boring honeymoon that takes a toothbrush, puts it in the toilet, and steals a guy's money, a blurry, glitchy killer, a Skype call that doesn't belong on a VHS tape, and a Halloween house, a haunted house. And the first short is literally about 3 guys that want to literally film themselves having sex with girls in a hotel room without a single girl's consent. And the plot of most of these shorts are just possible through momentarily stupid decisions from the characters. They never call the cops. They're tripping and running away. And the overarching plot characters are even the stupidest of all of them. In the first short, with the demon chick, which is the best short of this movie, you literally get to see a guy's pale white ass whenever he hides in the bathroom.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. The memory of your bare ass will bring me comfort and warmth during the coming nuclear winter.
There's no bow tie at the end connecting all these stories, and there's no need for the bland overarching story itself with the unlikable scummy characters. It features way too much gore and nudity, and it's just gratuitous and it's just unarousing. Even for some horny guy, this would not be arousing at all. And it doesn't even capture a lot of the good video cassette feel, and and I just feel that VHS is just faithful to its central concept at the expense of even delivering scares or even making sense. On the bright side, though, the best segment of this movie is definitely the porn tape one called Amateur Night, which I think is well shot and terrifying for a short film, but other than that, there's just not much for me to like about this whole movie.
In fifth place is going to be the first spin-off film of this series, Siren.
The very first spin-off and film adaptation of the VHS franchise, and it's the movie adaptation of the Amateur Night short from the first film. This one, kind of almost like the plot of the segment, it's four friends who drive to some tolerant town to celebrate a guy's bachelor party. The best man is his brother, who's all about wild fun, and plans to almost just say yes to everything. And they end up at some strip joint that's very underwhelming for them. And then the brother meets a guy at the bar who says that he knows of a place that can be better suited for them. And the game follows this guy somewhere. They end up in some mansion with lots of attractive girls. And running the show is this, of course, this cowboy from the intro of the movie we see. He has this special thing in mind for the bachelor, but in exchange he also wants their fondest memory of their mothers. He hypnotizes them, and his sidekick inserts leeches into their neck that are collected after they relive their memory. And the leeches serve as carriers of memories, and can be inserted into anyone to relieve those experiences. And then of course our bachelor goes to the corners of a window where he sees that girl from the intro and the demon girl from this short film, who's now sings to him and relieves his most ecstatic moments. Then he decides to rescue her, though, because she's captive in a locked room. So he frees her and they escape with his friends, but this demon girl is on her own now after she butchers one of the bouncers. And from there, the movie is pretty much most of the time just this 82-minute wild goose chase to get this succubus chick back. And the entire movie almost seems like it's told from the perspective of the cowboy guy that the story hinges onto, and until the movie morally suits his character more than any of the others, and it changes the movie from scary horror to fun horror. Like, there's some moments in this movie that are jarring, and the practical effects are great, but there's also some CGI, which unfortunately for me docks the movie points. I do like, the premise of this movie seems fine, but it just doesn't make it about the succubus or siren, whatever she wants to be called. And honestly, I don't think this is a character who I feel like really should have had a movie adaptation at all.
You're the best friend. You're not the leading man.
What's more interesting is this nightclub and strip club of potential monsters, and it lets us see the movie mirrors a fantasy movie than a horror movie. And once again, though, it doesn't really feel like a horror movie, shouldn't really be called a horror movie, and honestly, there's many other segments we could have given movie adaptations to. We could have given a movie adaptation of Safe Haven would have made more sense, but this short was good, but I don't think it deserved a movie adaptation, and I think this succubus is a character that only works in a short film, and not really in need of a movie adaptation if I'm even just going to be honest. Siren, it's just there, but it's just not that great of a film.
In fourth place is going to be last year's VHS 99.
This was the VHS movie we got last year, and this one has some differences from the others. What's gone here is a tedious wraparound that usually never good in this franchise. Gone is the visual and thematic inconsistency throughout the shorts, and gone is the one segment that always gone is usually most of the scummy criminal stuff. In fact, it's kind of hard to say that really. I did used to not like this movie, but upon rewatch, this film kind of grew on me a little bit. There's there's still some bad stories in this one. Shredding is easily by far one of the worst segments I've ever watched in my life. My other biggest problem with this one is that it's too similar to the other ones in the franchise. It's especially for the fourth story with the horny teenagers and the Gorgon. Another issue is that they're just leaning too much on the supernatural elements. Every story in this one ends with some monster or something similar. It's like I'm watching more of a parody in this one instead of a horror anthology. It's like they just no longer care about trying to be scary and more on just some of the wackiest ideas. And the only time the only segment I can think of that was really like great and tries to be a horror film is Suicide Bid, which does like very well in feeling very claustrophobic and tense. Then you also have the self-aware one to Hell and Back. That does well with the self-aware tone, and even if the ending is a bit of a slap in the face to those who watch it, Ozzy's Dungeon, it starts off great, but it just goes downhill as it progresses when it suddenly becomes this demonic possession thing at the end. And then, of course, the Gawkers and Shredding are just awful segments that just give you first film vibes. Shredding's just about this obnoxious, rude as hell band that goes to literally disrespect people's graves and play music on them. And then you have the Gawkers, which is about these irritating as fuck kids that you already just want to die the minute you meet these guys, where they're pretty much going around, they're messing around with the delivery guy's job, pretty much wrecking his truck, then go around filming, like stalking and filming girls with their cameras, and literally pull pranks on each other even, and then pretty much is about them creepily spying on their attractive neighbor. That's how that segment goes. And the segment's like Ozzy's Dungeon. Once again, it started out promised, but it ran out of steam quickly, and it ends with a whimper too. Now, VHS 99, it's watchable, but it's nothing outstanding really. It may have been bad the first time, but it's improved as I watched it. This one just came and went, just without leaving much of a ripple in the horror pond, and that was about it.
In third place is going to be the one that revived this series, VHS 94.
This was exactly the movie that brought life back into the franchise after the near-destruction VHS viral cost to it. This one actually feels like it's set in a proper year for a videotape anthology movie, and has a perfect nostalgic setting for many 90s fans. The look of the movie is definitely cheaper compared to the first three, and it actually works effectively at making the videotapes feel raw and nasty, and all the tapes are... And just about 2 of the tapes in this one are great. Once again, which is why this one's not like great. But this one, it actually feels like a horror movie. And it just feels like the bad segments are Empty Wake and Terror. Empty Wake is just boring and nonsensical. It just made me almost feel sleepy when I first saw it, and almost made me want to go to sleep, because it's called Empty Wake and it's set in a funeral home. Then you got Terror, which is just white supremacist idiots just doing some of the stupidest shit yet. The tape, however, that I think was the most epic and fun to watch was The Subjects by Timo Janto. And this is the same guy who did the Safe Haven 7 from the second movie. This one really feels like it has that perfect little Doom, Resident Evil feel. And it also has that perfect little shot in the style of Hardcore Henry and Crank. It's got this tape is incredibly gory and it's full of madness from the characters. It's definitely not really scary, it's more of an action segment, but I loved it a lot. It was kick-ass. So that segment is why this movie ended up actually caused me to not mind this movie, and I enjoyed it slightly more than I probably thought I was gonna. What struck me about this, and this movie actually has a bit more creativity than the others. First, however, the problems with this movie are not just the 2 segments that I've mentioned not being good. It's easily, no doubt, the worst one of all of them, the wraparound. This wraparound is also almost as pointless and insufferable as the first film's wraparound. I don't need to watch a bunch of stupid, unprofessional SWAT guys that act pathetic on their job for 103 minutes. The final segment, Terror, is really pointless. The only reason it exists is just to give the wraparound some connection to the segment. Empty Wake just feels like it drags on forever. But thankfully, though, you got Storm Drain, which is also a good segment with the rat creature. And you've also got The Subject, which is a very kick-ass segment and easily the second best segment of the series. But the 2 segments I'm watching, you're just waiting for those 2 to end. But they just put in an obvious twist so that it could be a horror short. All in all, it's definitely not bad, and it's a step up from 3 and even the first film. But it still needs a lot of improvements.
In second place is going to be the New Kid on the Block, VHS 85.
The New Kid on the Block, the one that came out this weekend, when I saw the trailers for this, I was like, I hope this can go back to that second film's greatness, because I saw who the directors were going to be, You had David Bruckner coming back to this one. Even had Scott Derrickson doing a segment. The guy did The Black Phone last year, which I really enjoyed. And I think Scott Derrickson's already growing to be a great director in horror. So I really hope this could really be pulled off well. And honestly, it did actually pull off well, but not the way I thought. Because I did not expect this one to be a somewhat good film and actually be the second best since VHS 2. It may seem controversial, but this is the first VHS film I've enjoyed in quite some time, like since 10 years ago. This one really feels like you're watching a videotape more than the other ones do. A lot more than some of the other ones do. It's got a few more interesting stories in this one, and it's surprisingly, guess what, guys? It's got a tolerable frame narrative, and it doesn't really feel like much of a wraparound because it's more of a documentary cutaway shot like those Bill Nye documentaries we watched in school. The segment, though, that easily ended up standing out the most is definitely Scott Derrickson's Dream Kill, which is another segment like Safe Haven, could totally work as its own movie, and it's got that Black Phone and sinister feel to it. And other segments I liked that were, there was God of Death, which really combines the real-life 80s Mexico earthquake and an Aztec temple, while also, like Suicide Bid, having a claustrophobic feel to it. Then you have a two-parter segment that, like, I would have liked better. I like better when it's just combined into one, and not split into two halves. Like, you could just... The first half is literally about water skiers getting sniped but not dying from it. And then, of course, you have the person responsible for shooting them with the sniper gun in the second half of the segment. So, combine those together, and then the killers in that segment, the second half, they actually get their comeuppance. Right there. So, that was actually nice to see. And the shootout in the second half of the confrontation between the killers and the police kind of reminded me of that beginning scene of Devil's Rejects, so that was nice. And then, of course, though, this movie still does have bad qualities. My big bad quality is that the camera work in 85 feels way too small, and you have this really cringily bad VR segment that's really boring and infuriating that should be taken out of the movie completely and replaced with an actually good segment. And the documentary frame narrative actually does get scary around the end, and then they ruin all the tension with having this goofy ending where the aliens making the dead bodies do yoga dances. And that almost ruined that whole frame narrative for me. But overall, despite that, I think VHS 85 is the second best of the series personally, and I definitely can't wait for this one's Blu-ray release.
And without a doubt, the number one best film in the series is obviously going to be 2013's VHS 2.
Yes, I think you all know this was going to be obviously the number one pick from the start, if you're familiar with this franchise. This is the one that should have been the first one from the very start. It's like this one, they recognized all the problems with the original, and they decided to fix those. The runtime's more smooth, it's not over 2 hours long, it's like 95 minutes, and that's simple enough. That should be perfect enough for an anthology film. The stories are more interesting, and like the wraparound's not great, but it's slightly more tolerable in this one. And there's definitely a lot to be scared of here. The violence is really shocking and stunning and even disgusting at times. The plots are more clever. The acting's definitely a lot better than most horror fare. And it's definitely way better acting than the first film. A lot of better acting in this one. The camera work is clever and convincing. The shorts had a feel that many found footage movies don't have. And usually I never question why something was being filmed and people mostly acted realistically. And plus, because here, like in this stories, you have one shot from the point of view of a zombie. And I think in the third segment, the cameras are shot from their clothes. And then, of course, one story is shot from the point of view of a dog. And one is shot from the point of view inside a guy's glass eyeball. And most of the stories here, they're more unique with one shot throughout the point of view of a zombie, a dog camera, and even having some scary as shit aliens. And it's easily the biggest standout, though. The one that really stands out, and it's also the best segment of this franchise, is Safe Haven. The one involving the Indonesian cult and the chase to get out of their base alive. The effects in this one are well shot, and the pacing is very smooth for an anthology movie as well. And the segments actually feel like actual segments here. The other segment that also stands out the most one is Ride in the Park with the Zombies, which was done by the guys who did the Blair Witch Project, and it's really creative seeing a point of view of a zombie right here. And of course that zombie realizes he's becoming a killing machine and he shoots himself to avoid hurting anyone else. Which is how it ends. However, the problems that do stand out in VHS 2 is the first segment with the eyeball, because the concept of a camera eyeball is clever. The cast in this one, they just look bored out of their minds, and the jump scares are generic. They're the kind of jump scares you'd find in a Blumhouse movie. And of course, Safe Haven's a great segment, but there is one problem I have with it. The ending of the segment. Literally, the demon rams into the guy's car, and once the guy emerges from the car, you see the demon on top of it, and the demon literally says, "Papa." And that was right there, like, Brad Miska, why did you have to get fucking involved with this segment? Yeah. I can agree. That's the demon saying Papa. No. Stop it right fucking now. And then he got the wraparound, where even the couple that are in the wraparound, they don't still look all that amused to even be in this movie. I mean, it's not as bad as Tape 56, but it just kind of feels weak. That's it. But despite those problems, though, I think VHS 2 is an epic horror sequel that really shows how to improve after you fail in the first try. There you go. That wraps up my ranking of all 8 VHS movies, including the 2 spin-offs. So for those who have seen the movies, or who do know of the movies, subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comments below how you rank the movies. Rank the ones you've seen. And then rank, or if you have seen the 2 spin-off movies as well, rank how you'd rank those ones. And until then, like, either way, just rank all the ones you've seen if you've seen all of them, or if you've seen a few of them. Let me know in the comments below how you rank the ones you have watched. Until then, guys, that'll be it for this ranking. Thank you all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.